Here we are on the edge of the runway, and we are on the Schweizer 126, and we're getting ready for our takeoff. As you can see, the tow plane is lining up on the end of the runway there, and we're going to get the tow rope attached. Looks like the tow rope's attached. I'm just doing all final adjustments before we take off. And as you can see, the rope is taken up slack, and I'm closing the canopy, and we're getting ready for our roll down the runway. Testing to make sure the canopy is closed and shut. There's the runway ready to go. I'm checking to make sure that the airspace is clear. I'm going to wag my tail, or wag the rudder, which lets the tow plane know that I am ready to go. And here we go, rolling down the runway, and now my goal here is to get off the ground as quick as possible and get behind the tow plane as we go through all the dust. So it looks like we're just off the ground right now, and I've got to maintain this level attitude until the tow plane releases, or gets off the ground, that is. Okay, so now all I have to do is follow the tow plane up to the required altitude. And it was a pretty clear day, nice and smooth, and this was a fun flight. Didn't get much altitude, but it was a fun flight. So whether we're in a turn or level flight, I try and match the bank angle that the tow plane is doing. That just makes it a lot easier for the tow pilot to do the tow. So here we are heading back to Avenal, and you can see the runway down below that we just took off from. Now he's going to take me over Avenal, because right to the right of the picture is a quarry, and he had stated that there's some pretty good lift over there. So he is going to tow me to altitude around the city, and I'm going to go search for this lift that the tow pilot had noticed a little while ago. In a minute he'll start his right turn, and then we'll just go round and round and round until we get to altitude. We're about 2,000 feet right now, I think. I can't read the instruments very clearly, but it looks like around 2,000 feet. It looks like about 60-70 knots from what I can see. I'm not too sure if that's accurate, but we're at 1,000 feet up. That's because the tow plane is towing really well today. Now, basically what this camera is attached to my sunglasses, so you are getting the view as if you were in the plane. This is what you're seeing that I'm seeing. So you might notice it shaking quite a bit sometimes. That's just because I'm paying attention to what's going on outside, and you're just experiencing what you would experience if you were flying this aircraft. We've got a yaw string right in front of the cockpit there, and I try and make sure that yaw string is always straight, because you want to maintain coordinated flight, and that yaw string helps us maintain that coordinated flight. There we're going, starting our turn to the right. This is a wing cam view that I was experimenting with. Now you can see me inside and the coastal range. Now we're back in the cockpit again. Now this is a total wireless setup, so there'll be some slight interference, but it is a total wireless setup. Just making sure that we're getting ready to our release. I try and release right at 3800 MSL, because Avenal is around 800 feet MSL. That means sea level. It is an altitude of 800 feet above the sea level. So if I'm going to release at 3,000 feet, I want to make sure I'm releasing 3,000 feet plus the 800, which is the altitude of the town. So it's 3,800, which gives me my 3,000 foot altitude from the ground. Because of course I am narrating this video outside of the actual flight. And we've got a climb rate of what looks to be just under 1,000 feet a minute. So it looks like about 600-700. Looks like we're coming up to altitude here. Now the instrument to the left there is the airspeed, then the instrument to the right is the variometer, the rate of climb. There's a vent right below that. There's another outside view again. Looks like the wing cam's working reasonably well. This is the first time we've ever got an outside view of a 126 at this club, so this is kind of breaking new ground. Getting real close to our release. There it goes. We just released off tow, so we're at 3800, and now I will cruise around here to try and locate that lift that the tow pilot had confirmed was there, and I will admit I could not locate it. So this became a pretty quick flight. There again, we're outside, as you can see me trying to find where this lift is. A little bit of interference there, but that's just because we're running a wireless and this plane is all metal. There you go, you can actually see the reflection of the cam on the wing right there as the sun goes by, kind of interesting. There's Avenel below, and we're coming up to the quarry. And as you can see, I'm in sync. Now what you do when you're in sync is you put the nose down and you get out as quick as possible. Another view outside the airplane. Avenel to our right, and there's the airport just up above the cockpit view there. And we're getting pretty close to having to abandon this operation here, going into a left turn. Because I was just not finding anything. I was just in a lot of sync. Still over Avenel, trying to get some lift off the buildings, which I wasn't accomplishing. It was cooling down a bit at this point. Okay, the runway is just down below to our right there. At this point in time, I'm basically getting ready to enter the initialization point, or otherwise known as the IP. I'm doing a hard turn, trying to see if I can get into that thermal. This is an outside view again, and no luck. Just could not find it. Or it might have dissipated at this time of the day. And I'm still searching away. But we're getting pretty low now. And now I think we're getting to the point of committing to our landing. I'm testing all the, making sure the altitude's correct. And now we're going to enter our 45, enter the downwind leg, which we're in right now. Runway's to my right. There's the IP. And I am now on my committed downwind leg, so I will pan to the right frequently, because generally what I do is wait till the right wing is parallel with the end of the runway, and I will start planning my base leg. Remember, in gliders you only get one chance at landing, so you really want to try and make sure you get it right the first time. And it's pretty easy. You're trained really well. Mr. Gallagher taught me well. And by the way, you can get his book on our website, on the eBay auction sites as well. Okay, as you can see, we're coming up to our base leg turn. There we go, maintaining 55 knots. Sometimes I hit 60 knots. Turning onto base. So the runway is to my right. There's Avenel. And then at this point, it's just basically what I feel comfortable with in the wind direction when I turn my final. And here I am turning final. There's the edge of the runway. And from this point on, we just mark a point on the runway where I want to touch down. We're going to be parking the glider, so I'm going to make sure I park reasonably close to the tie down. So I will aim at a certain point on the runway and let the glider just settle down, and it will get pretty close to the tie down. And that's just because I've done it so many times. I know what speed, what height, and when to do the air brakes to get it pretty close. Now we're just above the runway. I want to maintain that energy because I don't want to have to push this glider too far. So I'm slipping off to the left side of the runway because we were having a balloon drop contest this day, so I wanted to get off the runway as quick as possible so they could continue their balloon drop. And we finally landed. We are down.